I got one final thing that's a real bad cop moment that happened probably about 30 minutes before I came on air. I wanted to play with Jackson a little bit. He's got a new Family Feud game, so I was like, "Hey, do you want to play for 30 minutes just before I come on air?" He said, "Sure." I'm going to let you go. We haven't done a game on the show in a long time, Matt. So you guys are going to be, you're going to be the good cop, bad cop family. Okay, so you got 3 lives. We'll see if you can sweep the card. Here's the topic. And you're probably going to figure it out anyway, just because I'm asking already. You got a question already? Oh, geez. Can we just play a game?
I'm just saying that last time...
Family Fortunes for the English person's benefit.
The last time we did this, Graham, on another iteration of Good Cop, Bad Cop, my record is not exactly stellar.
All right, well, let's see how you guys
every time I give an answer, I say, no, that's definitely not it. I was wrong.
Okay. Right. I'll let you guys kind of confer if you want to, and then you can say, if you speak a little louder, I'll assume that's your answer. All right, there are 7 answers. Name a sport where the guys go topless.
Volleyball.
Volleyball, correct. Beach volleyball. That was my first answer as well. That was the first one I thought of.
Okay.
Sumo wrestling.
Wrestling is the answer, which is why it's a bad cop moment. Because Jackson's there like, I can't believe you're not getting this one, and I never said wrestling one time. How the heck can I not get that? As I'm preparing for a wrestling podcast, and I didn't think about. Yeah, sometimes they do have things, but most of the time, like not get that is really where it's the bad cop moment. All right, we're just playing for fun now, really, but that was the bad cop moment, not figuring out wrestling. How did I miss that?
Swimming.
Swimming's the top answer. I did get that.
Diving.
I got that one as well. That's on there. You got 3 more.
Volleyball, beach volleyball.
Same thing. It says beach volleyball on here. Volleyball actually wouldn't be because they normally wear shirts for that. But I gave it because I know what. It's the same thing.
Depends on the TV channel you're watching at the time, Graham. Right.
I guess so. 3 more answers.
Okay.
Water polo.
Water polo, correct.
Oh, very
well, because I was thinking about, all right, when else would they be in the pool? And I was
what about the horses? What about the horses, though?
We got 2. Very funny. We got 2 more to go.
Come on, that was fitting. I couldn't not. Shirtless
When
men.
I was growing up, that would have been, have you heard about the Irish water polo team? But we don't do jokes like that anymore. All right, we've got 2 to go.
I'm thinking about athletics in general, but I think they all wear shirts or certainly vests, don't they?
All right, rather than making this show go on for 10 hours, I'm going to give you the last 2 answers then. One I disagree with, surfing, because you can actually normally wear a wetsuit, so I would disagree with that answer. That was the second answer.
Surfing makes sense.
It kind of does, but it doesn't have to be topless.
Professionals wear bodysuits.
And I don't feel so bad about missing wrestling, because you guys didn't say boxing either, which is kind of connected together. So, all right, perhaps it wasn't such a bad cop moment for me then. But yeah, Jackson actually said you should use that as a bad cop moment. I was like, all right, got you, buddy. I have no idea what the heck that is, unless you've just frozen for some reason. But you clearly haven't. You're just being a dick right now. I'm going to edit it out anyway, so it doesn't make any difference. Actually, I'm not. I'm just going to add it into the... You being a dick, everybody knows that you do that. And we pointed out. And we got to see video footage of you being a dick last week, which was a bonus good cop moment as well. There we go. We got the finger. Benjamin Banks showed you giving me the finger for no reason whatsoever. Asked a civil question, and that's what...
It was. You are the worst person in the world for winding me up intentionally.
I just asked if it was the longest episode he had.
It wasn't. It wasn't his longest episode, so fuck you.
That's not normally how we open the segment when we do the open agenda, so this has gone totally off the cards. This is now where we don't do this. We pass this on to our guests, because we just have the same stuff to talk about every week anyway. So, Mr. Chaos, anything outside of wrestling? Well, it could be inside wrestling. Matt never follows the rules anyway. Anything else that you would like to talk about in this segment?
So, based on the DM that you sent me, I took the outside of wrestling to heart, and then I found something... Because I feel like if you look at the news nowadays, everything is negative. So I wanted to find something very positive, right? So what I found was there is a free student-run grocery store helping Texas families in the pandemic. So these kids are in high school in Texas, and I figured, one, you'd appreciate it being a teacher, so you know, So they launched it in November. It's in a small town in Texas, in Sanger, Texas. It has about 130 families, and the people keep growing. You know, we've been in this pandemic for 11 months now, and people are constantly losing their jobs. It's what happened to me. I got downsized. Um, and we all remember what we were like as teenagers. I was a fucking asshole as a kid. I damn sure would not have thought to do something like this. It just wasn't in my nature. I was a very selfish teenager. So for the fact that these high school students are opening and running this grocery store where families can come in and shop for free or give donations if they want to, which obviously helps, is fantastic. And it's one of the reasons, one, that I think there is still a lot of hope for the next generation. I think sometimes we see kids being assholes and you're like, fuck, what is the world going to be like after I'm gone? And then you see stuff like this and you're like, oh, these kids, some of these kids are way better than I was as a teenager. And it's also what has me in love with Texas. Texas is a whole different world. If you guys have never been, listeners, you guys have never been to Texas, I highly encourage everybody to come to Texas. It's a place where everybody is yes sir, yes ma'am. We hold doors open. We look you in the eye when we talk to you. We shake hands. Not so much during the pandemic. It's more about elbow bumps now, but it's a different country within the United States. And this is the spirit of Texas, and it makes me proud to be an American, which I already am, but it makes me super proud to be an adopted Texan, and to show, like I said, the world that, look, there are still shitty children out there. There are still shitty teenagers out there, but there are also teenagers who are making a huge difference in people's lives. And, you know, it's just good for good news. So,
Matt, I'm going to let you go first because I obviously have a teacher's perspective as well, but go ahead.
The next generation, I have said for a long time, God help next generation when you see some of the people. But at the same time, I also say sometimes there's hope for next generation. I am being extremely biased here. Because partially due to laziness, partially due to me obsessing about my family and my friends, my close friends, my social circle has got smaller during the pandemic in terms of people who I text, call, just check in with. I'm not unfriendly to anybody, but unless they've been racist or homophobic, etc., of course. But I've seen a lot of good. Food banks aren't the answer in the UK. They are something that I hate to see because, in my opinion, no one should be going hungry. But that's obviously something which is out of my power. I can't do it. I can't help that. But I give to food banks when I can. If I've got extra can in my shopping sort of thing, I don't really need that. Someone else could get a meal out of that sort of thing. It all helps. And I saw. But back after the first lockdown finished, I saw kids going door to door collecting, obviously envisioned by the late Captain Sir Tom, to do all of his fundraising, inspired everyone to start doing their own sort of thing, be it bake sales or something like that. And I have a lot of hope for the next generation as a result of that. My nieces, my nephews, I remember Jack and Chloe, my two oldest niece and nephews, actually saw a show about child poverty, and Chloe started crying, and she went and they put a tent up in the backyard and they slept in it for 3 nights for charity, and they raised £200. And I'm like, and they were so proud of themselves for that, and I'm really proud of them. That was a couple of years ago. I mean, they fundraise whenever they can. Jack's a beaver. I think he might be going. That means he's going to Cub soon. Actually, he should be a Cub already. He's 9, so he probably is a Cub. Chloe's a guide. She's a brown. I think now as well. She's growing up. It's making me feel really old. But yeah, very, very proud of the next generation. Some kids are brats, of course. That's all about the person who is the father, Graham. But I couldn't resist. I'm so sorry. You have two excellent children, and they are amazing. But if I had to just get a reaction from both of you, you grimacing and you clapping and laughing. It was amazing. But I can say that because he's my adopted brother. So he's a big brother I've never had. Sorry, Natalie, I know you're my big sister. But yeah, there is hope for the next generation. And that's because of partially due to the insight and the ideals that we put in them as parents and as peers, obviously.
I'm not sure how well Jack is a beaver translate to Canadian audience, but we'll leave that for aside for a moment.
It doesn't translate to an American one either.
I didn't think it did, but I knew specifically. I know a story with there were some hockey players, and they set up a team in England, and I think it might have been the Basingstoke Beavers, and the crowd were cheering, "Let's go Beavers!" And the Canadian players were very confused; they didn't like it. It seems we had some confusion last week, Matt. I only mentioned it for that reason. I was going to mention, obviously, as a teacher as well. Now, here's another point of confusion. I used to be a coordinator for the NHS. Now, for Matt, that would be the National Health Service. For an American, that would be the National Honor Society. So I used to do that with school, and they have to do like community service. They have to build up a certain number of hours. I think it was 50 hours over 2 years. And the things that those kids did, like I was an overseer. I wasn't the, hey, look, you're going to do this. They had to come up with the ideas. They just kind of had to check in with me to register the hours. The things that they did, like they put on Christmas concerts at retirement homes. They would go and do those things like you talked about, fundraising. They would do the collecting of the cans. They would do the Christmas tree where you hang up different things. There was so many different things they did. I will always be a defender of students for that reason. When you see so much of it that's actually going on. And I think the students have a much more difficult time than perhaps when we were in school. Like the stresses now to try and get into college, it's very real. And there's a lot of pressure to take a lot of advanced classes to try and achieve those grades. So, yeah, big support of those kids. I agree with you, Matt. It's a shame that we need something called the food banks, but unfortunately, we do need them right now. So for those people in Texas, what a wonderful service. The fact that they went out of their way, came up with that whole concept, set up the whole thing. There's a lot of promise for the future. Like, I'm agreeing with you. Like, when I was that age, I wasn't doing anything like that at all. Like, I might have I did a sponsored walk, but that's so much low level compared to where those students are right now. And that's the positive side of the internet. They see stories like this online. They see those videos going viral, and then they get those ideas themselves. Like, oh, perhaps we could do something as well. So it's that double-edged sword. It's that two-sided coin. There's a bad side to the internet, and there's a positive side. But definitely the positive side could come through on things like that.
Absolutely.